welcome to our interview series, and we're learning about how people are fostering mental health. And I am so excited today to introduce our guest. It is Chris Waddell, who is a Paralympic champion. He was the most decorated male Paralympic skier in the world, and he has done some phenomenal stuff. He's the founder of One Revolution Foundation. He's doing a really cool new TV show that I think he's going to be talking about and podcast. And more than that, he's a great friend. So welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's an honor to be here with you, Donna.
We have had a lot of fun together, but can you, I gave sort of an overview, but can you tell everyone a little bit about what you've been up to and the organizations you're part of? Because you're busy.
The beauty right now is trying to figure out how to keep everything going forward. I think that's what everybody's up to so with One Revolution, we have put our name tags presentations. Our name tags presentation is about the labels that we put on ourselves and others, which are often our limitations. You know, we're pretty good at, I can't do this because I'm too tired, I'm too busy, I'm too poor, I'm too, whatever. So it's one part resilience. It's not what happens to, it's what you do with what happens to. But it's also about finding your unique voice. We say the greatest risk you take is taking no risk at all. And this is a time when I guess we have to take a little bit of a risk and step out of our comfort zone. Our motto is, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you on that. And so we wanted to, as people are in difficulty right now, in uncertainty, we put our 3 name tags presentations, one from me, one from one of our athletes, Samantha Bosco, who's a Paralympic cyclist, and then a guy named Mike Shea, who is a Paralympic snowboarder. And we put all of those online for free, in addition with our movie, our film of my climb of Mount Kilimanjaro in a hand cycle. So that was the start of it. And then promoting it via social media, trying to reach as many people as we can, trying hopefully to offer something for free that will help people get better and build a more of a community. So that's what we're doing. You mentioned the television show. Television show is called Living It with Chris Waddell, which is, I am Chris Waddell, and I am doing my best to live it. The premise of it is that an expert with a disability teaches an adventure to 2 people off the street. We finished wrapping on one show on the 13th of March. That was essentially it. We were gone, and that was a bobsledding show where we actually drove a bobsled, which was exciting and scary and great. And so we're intending to do that, but it's a travel show, and so I don't know when we will get to travel. So trying to figure out how to continue to tell that. I have done my very first podcast. I did that last week with a buddy of mine, Carlos Melita, who's this amazing guy. He was a Navy SEAL, got shot getting Noriega out of Panama. His team got wiped out on the tarmac, came back. He was in the hospital, left the hospital, pushed a racing wheelchair from Miami to Virginia Beach, 1,000 miles.
Wow.
Then went to Alaska. This was to get himself in shape. So then he went to Alaska to do a race from Fairbanks to Anchorage, which I think is 360 miles in 9 days, through gigantic hills and all of this stuff, rain and grizzly bears. Was world record holder at Kona in the triathlon, in the Ironman triathlon. Did the race across America, so biked across America in 8 days, and just phenomenal guy. But I mean, in some ways, this is a segue for you as well. He often wears a Superman t-shirt because he really is Superman. But a year ago, maybe 2 years ago or so, he posted online that he got onto a plane and he had a panic attack. And he had to get taken off of the plane. I mean, this is a guy that you look at and think, you know everything. And I asked him about that because I remember training with him, and he said, well, if you're depressed, like, go do something. Like, go out and go for a run, or go do something. And he said, no, I really needed to step back and get some professional help and figure out a strategy for my health. And I think that that's a big challenge for all of us right now, is that we're quarantined. I have I guess she'd be a second cousin, my mother's cousin, who said that her husband is working from home. And she said, I agreed to, for sickness and health, but not for lunch. Things have changed.
So true. We're not used to this togetherness.
Exactly. But trying to figure out and wondering when things change, things are starting to open up. I'm not entirely convinced that that is a great idea and that we
Yeah.
won't have a second spike that could, well, change things in a more profound way. And that uncertainty is really difficult. And I think also the uncertainty of looking at other people. If I see somebody when I'm walking the dog, I feel like somebody on the street is an assassin. They're
Yeah.
trying to kill me.
It is so interesting the way it's changed the way we look at things. There's that fear that's overriding. And how do we help people to get through that? And I think so much in terms of, the message, and I love that One Revolution has released the name tags programs and the movie of your climb, because it sort of like gives you perspective and says, okay, this is tough, it's hard, and it's okay, we can live with it's hard, but then what do we do with this? You can live with it and say, I'm angry, I'm sad. We look at the young kids who are missing, particularly there's been a lot of attention on the class of 2020, which I also wanted to spotlight that you've done an amazing graduation speech that's going to be available. But I think that the idea of they're losing out on a lot, and that's hard. But when you look at your story, you can also say, yeah, you can be angry for a little bit, but then now what are you going to do with this? And it's
It's always easier looking back, right? Our
yes,
is never as painful when we're looking back. But then I think also when we look at other people,
yeah,
we gain resilience, I think, in a lot of ways from watching other people. It's part of the reason why the Rocky movies were so popular, right? I mean, it's like you felt like you could come out and run through a wall after watching a Rocky movie, and realizing that adversity is something that is beneficial. It is a necessary step. And yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a preview in terms of the graduation speech. What I'm trying to look at right now is that I'm trying to remind myself that my greatest power was immediately after the accident that paralyzed me.
right.
And I couldn't walk, I couldn't work out, I could barely move, I couldn't get out of bed, but I could control my emotions. And in a lot of ways, it was almost a game because that's all I had.
Yeah,
And if I could give my body the best environment to heal, I had the best chance of getting better, as opposed to what I saw in the hospital, where that was a form of death.
right.
And so I'm trying to remind myself that, yeah, that wasn't easy, but I became powerful, one, by winning those moments with myself when I wanted to quit, and saying, no, no, I need to give myself the best environment to heal.
I
And
love that One Revolution, your organization, it stands for one revolution of your hand cycle. That
yeah,
every decision we make is a choice, and you want to give up sometimes, but and it's okay to take a rest. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm done with this for now. And sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, this, I'm giving up, I'm not, this isn't worth my time, but I'm making that as a conscious choice. I'm going to pivot, I'm going to do something different. That's different than giving up and saying, I'm just done with this, I can't do it. Because there are so many examples, and I think right now there are two messages that I keep thinking about. Well, a couple, and that one step at a time is a big one.
we can understand one step, right? We can, you can, oh, I can't, I've got to stop, but I'm sure I could do one step. And for me, that equivalent, as you said, was one revolution of the hand cycle. We estimated it took 528,000 revolutions of the crank to make it to the top. To try to take that as one bite, it's impossible, right? But
Right.
to remind ourselves that, okay, it is difficult, but can I take that one step? Can I take that one step? It is something that's easily comprehensible. And I think it's also something we have to remind ourselves. I mean, you're an expert in the field, but I'm sure you have to continue to remind yourself as
Every
well.
day. Every day. Well, and the other thing, it's some of those lessons, and a lot of these are in the movie, and a lot of these are in the the name tags program. But control, what can you control? You talk about how powerful you were right after your accident, and one of my mantras has been, God grant me the serenity. And I'm not necessarily as a prayer, but grant me the serenity to recognize what I can control, what I can't, and be able to control those. And the power in that time was you could control certain things, so you focused on that.
I think that's it. And I think it's also, it's just, I think there's a necessary shift. And this is one that's a challenge for me is, is enjoying the moment as well.
Yeah.
There is this uncertainty, right? There's a lot of work. You and I are both in a situation where we are doing a lot of things that we have never done before.
Hmm.
And you have no idea how long those things will take.
Yes.
It's kind of like I am doing this graduation speech, great, but I'm also filming and recording the graduation speech, which makes it that much more difficult for me to be on that part of it. And that is, I think, the challenge that we're seeing is that it's active thought in order to learn something. We have to be in the active part of our thinking in order to do it, which makes it harder. I mean, for you, it's talking about these pathways, right? Like we're creating the pathway to be able to make this thing work, but there's nothing there right now. So you're creating something brand new, and you think, wow, I went 3 inches here, and it took a really long time, metaphorically speaking, obviously.
Right.
But I think that to me is the challenge of realizing that the learning is fun, and you might not be good at it right now, but you're getting the opportunity to learn something entirely new.
And for so many people, this is everything is new. So the world is a different place. We're dealing with different things, and it's interesting. You get kids who always say, they want to know. They're so curious. They have questions, and so much of our world right now is, I don't know. When is this going to be? I don't know. We're dealing with new stuff, and you're going to have to have some faith in just move ahead, do what you can. And that's tough.
It is because I mean the fastest that they've created a vaccine is 4 years, right?
Yeah.
If we have to rely on a vaccine, there are treatments that are being helpful, and we don't know. I mean, unemployment is reaching unprecedented levels. People are out of work. We're having to reinvent ourselves. I do think, and this for me, we learn, we become our own allegory in so many ways, right? I mean, it's like I realized that I was most powerful after my accident, and realizing that was out of it was a result of the greatest adversity in my life. It was a strength and a power that I had thought and hoped was in me,
Hmm.
but I didn't know for sure. And getting a glimpse of that, it's intoxicating. I mean, 31 years later, I'm like, how can I get back to that person? I saw that. How can I be that person who is so committed to getting better? For me, it was the question, the refrain was, how can I be healthy?
Right.
What can I do to be healthy? And I think in a lot of situations, that's a great reminder and something that we totally neglect a lot
And
of the
one of
time.
the things that I love about that is, this whole series is about fostering mental health. We want to change the discussion from treating mental illness to fostering mental health. How can we be healthy? Let's teach people and help people to work with ways that they can be healthy. And that's such a great mantra. what can I do for myself today to be healthy?
Yeah, today and in this moment,
Right.
right? Because we're reacting, and so often it's a chemical reaction, right? That
Yep.
I do something to you, I am, obnoxious and sensitive, whatever it is, and there's a chemical reaction, where it's like A equals B, and it's like, okay, but we do have that ability to process and say, okay, why did this happen, and how can I best affect the situation
Yeah.
to make it better? And it's hard to take that step. It's hard to take that step in the moment. You've slighted me, you've
Yeah.
yeah, this is you get what you deserve. And it's like, no, we have to figure out how to. And I think it's the biggest challenge. I think it's my personal biggest challenge is to stay in that moment, and to really, it's almost like staying in the bubble. And one of the analogies for me is, I remember scuba diving for the first time. And I went out, and we were behind the boat. I was in Hawaii, and we were behind the boat, and the guy's saying, okay, well, this is what you do. Put your mask on. You've got your regulator, and so put your face in the water and breathe. And every fiber of my being is going, no, that's wrong. That Don't put your face in the water and breathe. But you put your face in the water, and you go, okay, just relax, and it's okay. And I think it's staying in that moment, because there's such an instinct to panic.
Absolutely. And we're so much in that right now. And part of that is the fear of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. So, there's that breathing. It's okay. One step at a time, getting through it. I love the messages. You've got so much to offer to people. And I just want to get to before we're going to need to wrap up. I wanted to ask, what are you doing right now to stay healthy, to stay foster mental health?
Fostering mental health, I think that a big part of it for me is one, being able to get a workout in. That helps me. It helps me immensely. It's letting go of my worries. It's getting that endorphin rush. It's those kinds of things. That is helpful. It's also trying to incrementally, trying to be generous with myself, which is a challenge, because I'm pretty good at beating myself up, and expecting myself to have great results as a result of beating myself up. Sort of the the football coach mentality of like, beat yourself up. But I think that's what I'm trying to do, is to be generous with myself and give myself a little bit of time, because there is so much to do. I could work 24 hours a day and never actually get there. And I think one other thing is, I'm listening to a fair number of podcasts
Hmm.
of people, because this ends up being best practices.
Yeah.
And some of it, I was listening to this morning. A buddy of mine sent me a podcast. He had suggested that we watch the movie Arrival, which is a science fiction movie, and sort of a nonlinear time kind of thing. And so there's a little bit of warping of your mind. And this was with the guy who was the writer of it. It was a Q&A with him. And it's cool to hear people who have had a dream, and have had people say no, 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 and thought, well, I need to find a way to do this, and found a way to make it happen. And that's the stuff that I look at and think, okay, there are people who are solving problems. The solving the problem part is really the most empowering thing. That if I can solve a problem, it's not that I have a problem, it's that then I can solve a problem. And in some ways, if I have a problem, it gives me an opportunity to solve a problem. Those
Well,
are the people I respect the most.
I love to hear that story because I hear that in living it. I know that I've known you for a long time, and living it has been a dream for a long time. And I love that you're making it happen, that you're taking the things that you've wanted to do, and little by little, you're doing them. You're doing the TV show, you're doing a podcast, You're getting the name tag stuff out. I know that you have a conversation with people every Wednesday night. That's an open conversation with a guest. You're doing some really cool stuff. And it's that, getting through that no, 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 no to yes, I can do this. I'm going to do the things that I want to do. And you're finding a way to make it happen. So can you tell people who are watching, can you tell them where they can learn about living it, where they can see your graduation speech, where they can learn about, see name tags, and your podcast? I still want to listen to it.
Yes, yes. No, we're editing the podcast right now, and then I'm trying to get a few more guests and trying to see how the sound worked and all that stuff. So logistics. But where can they find stuff? So best way is you can follow me on Facebook. So it's just Chris Waddell. So ChrisWaddell. On Instagram, it is Chris Waddell Living It with underscores in between each. You can go to the One Revolution site, which is one-revolution.org.
And we'll put each of them in, we'll put all of this in the chat section.
Okay. And then also the YouTube channel, which is One Revolution channel on YouTube. So yeah, so these things, and it's funny, I think that just back to your point though, that we're hearing no, no, no. And the thing is, there are two kinds of no, no, no though, right? There's the external no, 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 and there's the internal no, no, no. And we're battling both of them.
Yeah.
That's the challenge is to keep it going and to take that moment and go, okay, yes, okay, I do want to do this. I am scared. I have no idea where things are going to go, but this is what I can do right now because I don't have a crystal ball of where they're going to go, where the world's going to go.
And I think that's perfect for that graduating class coming up. To hear those words, I don't know what's happening. I don't have a crystal ball and I'm scared, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow what needs to happen. And there's a lot of fear out there, but we're all scared. That's the human condition. So that's a great way to think about this time is that, yeah, we're all in this together. We're all scared, but we need to work together to get through it. Thank you so, so much for coming on. And I can't wait to see the graduation speech. I can't wait to see the podcast and I guess listen to the podcast. And I can't wait to see the TV show.
I know. It's all happening. It's all happening. I don't know when it's all happening, but it's all in the works. So
awesome.
Thank you.
We look forward to it, and we'll put links under you and keep tweeting that out and letting people know about it. And hopefully if anybody wants to join every Wednesday night, we have a call at 7:00 Eastern.
Yeah, a Zoom chat. Yes, exactly.
It's a Zoom chat. So thank you all for joining, and I hope you have a great day.